Sue, so would you feel like giving us a bit more background as to your interest in kind of green and environmental issues? Because I know from your family background, a little bit about your family background, that you have a long, long history of sustainability, obviously, from that side. Does that affect you, do you think? Or what?
Yeah, it was just a normal thing. I mean, my granny was even very aware and passionate about wildlife and bogs in particular. And so that's a bit difficult to talk about because it's sort of something that we've always done. Everyone I've lived around grew vegetables and had some animals, and so it's so normal, and it's something that if I would have a lot of energy to allow others to be able to have too, because it's great fun and nice, and you feel healthy and strong easily. You don't have to go to the gym to keep fit. It's sort of you can achieve something while keeping fit. And we all have mature apple trees now, and so we have an enormous apple press, and for days it runs as different groups come and press their apples. These things are they're like what humans are designed for, and to be able to have somewhere where you have to go looking for your children and knocking on different doors to find them it's normal. That's how most humans have lived for most of the time. And, in this healthy way where eating meat is a treat and a flavouring most of the time is, for most of the world, for most of the eons, the way most people have lived. So what we're asking for is not odd, it's only odd now. So if that answers what you...
Yes, it does. It's kind of in a way, it's sort of deeply sad, but we don't want to be negative too. We want to sort of give hope to the future. And if you are, you've got children, I know you. How do they feel about what's happening now? Do you know? I have to ask them, obviously, but
and they totally agree with everything and support me. And they eat lots of vegetables, but they live quite conventional lives. Like, one's a mechanic and always was going to be. And I suppose if we do talk about things, we imagine that we're always going to need mechanics in one way or another. It might not be petrol engines, but there'll always be mechanical things that need mending. So he doesn't feel like I'm against him. And and my daughter's a cleaner and a mother, and they don't buy a lot, but there's so much second-hand toys and things around that they have beautiful everything they want anyway. And I suppose because of the way they've grown up knowing how to find what you fancy without having to cause it to be made and cause pollution. That there's, we've got plenty already.
If you were talking to someone who was very sceptical about XR and perhaps trying to persuade them to come along to, an action, what would you say to them? How would you sort of allay their fears? In a way you've done it already with what you said in the kitchen, and because you were talking about your own experiences and of not being, violent, and also not sort of being against the police either.
Yeah.
Particularly, and I think from my point of view, personally, I'm full of fear about putting myself on the front line of anything, frankly. I wish I wasn't like that, and maybe I will become, as you said, there are more people involved. It makes you feel much more backed up and more confident. Also, if you're convinced what you're doing is actually the only thing you can do to make change. And so how much change do you think XR has made so far, if you do think?
It's something that I worry about, and I carry on doing strange things. I was part of the action planning group for the whole of UK for a little while, and we were really searching for something effective that we could do. And to measure effective, how can you measure effective? I don't know. Like getting in the news, sort of, and then it's gone again. So it felt like so the group felt they needed to do something that was big and that would be noticeable, newsworthy. And we couldn't come up with anything apart from blocking roads, which I really am not comfortable with, but can't come up with anything better. And when we did end up blocking the roads, it felt a lot more comfortable than I was before I did it, which is surprising. And I've been arrested quite a lot of times, and that particular part I find very relaxing and friendly personally. I have a policy of talking to the people who are arresting me as equals, and they treat me back as an equal and tell me how they feel about things. I know that it's not the same that for people who are very stressed or upset. I can easily imagine how the whole situation could get out of hand, and the police could get very frustrated and angry. So I'm not belittling the experience some people have of being arrested, particularly if their life is, they're being arrested because they've got an awful life in the first place and they're in a mess. But personally, it was like going for a retreat. So in the actual cell, it was very peaceful and calm. And because I do the catering, it's a lot of quite scary hard work, buying enormous amounts of food and making it all happen in a very changeable, like where we're allowed to cook changes rapidly, and I have to really think, so it's very focused. I'm dealing with lots and lots of people and finding them things to do and making sure they're comfortable and checking that they've got what they need. So getting into that cell is just like, it's lovely. I do some vigorous yoga and then just relax, and it's clean. And so I have imagined that I'm going on a retreat, and in extreme hippie situations they do sage smoke on you like this, and when you go to the police station they do this to check if you've got any metal hiding anywhere, and it's exactly the same positions and actions happen, and they go out of their way to make you comfortable. Any cups of tea you might like, extra blankets I ask for. I needed a pen and paper because my pen had run out. So my experience, because I'm someone they can relate to, because for them it's like a bring your child to day work day. They're not dealing with people that are having a horrible time. All of us are prepared to be arrested. We all know what we're doing. We've all got solicitors who want to do stuff for us for free. We know that when we get out, no matter what time of day or night, someone's going to be there with a cup of tea and to make sure that you get home well, and a snack. It's not like ordinary people having to be arrested at all. And for me, I love it. Which is not what you're meant to do. Because I like the rest and I love the attention.
That's really great.
How
long have you spent in prison, actually?
I've never been to prison, and I've often thought about it. I've got, if I ever get to prison, I'll write that book. And I'll do my plans, and I'll do my yoga properly. But no, so I've only ever been like in the police cells often it can add up to a lot of hours because you're waiting to be processed, and because there's a lot of you clogging the system. You can be. I realised I had to do the yoga before I got in the police cell because otherwise it was going to be bedtime. And another time they said it was time to go, and I hadn't had enough sleep. And during those sorts of protests, the police really don't want to arrest you. So they're saying, please, can you move? If you don't move, I am going to have to arrest you, but I'd really much rather you would walk over there. So they really try and persuade you to move away by yourself. And there are some unusual circumstances. Occasionally, I was arrested with intent to cause disruption with a kitchen, not intentionally. And my poor driver got arrested as well, who was definitely not intending to be arrested. But we were let out afterwards without any charges. But for an ordinary person who's come to the street, it's very unlikely you'll get arrested, in my experience of what I've been doing. There's other protests that get hectic, and one of the things that I really liked about Extinction Rebellion was that they had thought about what we call agitators, so people we think have caused trouble on purpose to get us a bad name, to cause things to go, I don't know. And so we had training that if everybody put their hands up, everyone would go silent. If everyone started sitting down, everyone else would sit down, and that would stop that sort of thing happening. Things have moved on since those early days, and we've got a lot of people coming that haven't had the training. It used to be, don't come unless you've had the training, and then it was like, just come. But I think there's enough people who have had the training, and also the culture is to not cause trouble. So if someone was causing trouble, there'd be a lot of people who would look at each other and work together to calm it back down. And it meant that when I saw some young lads shouting something horrible at the police, I could say something knowing that I was not speaking out of turn.
That's really interesting, thank you. Because yes, I mean, and people, I know, I mean, I gather that it's not, well, I don't know, I heard that it was going to be against the sort of XR ethos to do gluings on anymore, but I don't know if that's actually true, but just...
I've not been involved for a while.
No, right.
And so
when were you last involved, actually? Can I ask you?
Well, in our local things here, then, so I've just stopped going to the meetings because I had something happen at home that I had to completely focus on. But we were doing, what have we been doing recently? We had a big information day with talks, and I'm aware of people who are talking to the county council, on what they can do and really working with them, and others are sort of putting together something to go into schools, I think. And it's nice to be able to do things from home. It's a different demographic of people, you know, going out and gluing on and that. It's enormous fun, and you're playing games by rules, and the police have rules, you know, you're safe. You know, I stuck my hand onto the bar that goes up and down to let cars in and out of Parliament, and the person who came to get my hand off was going, "Wow, well, that's one of the best stuck-on hands I've come across yet." You know? So it's sort of, but everything feels pointless. Everything feels too small and scarily small, and it's stupid, and it's just even more stupid not to do anything at all. And then you go out and have all this fun, and it feels almost wrong. You know, to be honest, I would almost find it easier if I could do something really hard and uncomfortable and difficult, because I'd have felt like I've done something proper. But that's just
like
me.
Scaling a bridge after the
yes.
light moccasin. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like.
Anyway, yes.
But that's the fear coming in, and the fear is helped a lot by being around other people who take it seriously and are up for doing what's needed. And doing something at all is really helped. And that's one of the reasons I do the catering, because it's really hard. So I can put everything into it. So.
Absolutely, yes.
And I find March is just too emotionally sad. And I feel all these people are here and it's probably not going to do anything. So I can't cope with Marches at all. Those of us who are in a position because our family back us up, our earning is able to go and be arrested and not cause a problem. It's only any point of us being able to do that if there's lots and lots of people who want us to, that we're representing lots of others. For me, that's my thing. That I feel it's okay. I know it's okay from the personal points of view, but I only feel it's okay because I know that I've got an enormous community at home who want me to go and do it.
That is a very, very good point. As Charlotte was saying earlier, it costs a lot of money to go and protest.
And it costs, yes. So I've got backup with that, and also I've got the backup with all the legal and practical support. People step in and take on my voluntary work and my other jobs. My employers are totally with me and want me to go, so they don't feel like I'm abandoning them or anything. So yes, I'm in a unique position and privileged, and I take that privilege and want to do something with it. And a lot of us are middle class people who have been brought up in a way where you see a problem, you go to try and change it. Like in school, you see a rule that was unfair, you would go and try and change it, which is why you've got a lot of middle class white people in Extinction Rebellion. And personally, I think that we've got a real privilege, and it's our gift to give back. And it's okay that we come from this demographic, because we're a demographic that have been given the gift to be able to go and do it, and not to worry about the fact that there's not enough from other demographics. So in Extinction Rebellion, we've got all sorts of different people. So we've got what you might call an extreme vegan, and you've got people that run beef herds. Particularly beef herds, because they're trying to rewild or something, so there is Extinction Rebellion farmers, and the vegans have their own one, which his name has slipped my head for a minute. And so I hope that we all feel strongly that we just go under that umbrella together, and that it's okay to be completely different. And I have some really off on a tangent views and passions that I know I don't share with other people. And I work with Extinction Rebellion, and there's things I really don't like about Extinction Rebellion. And I work with them because I know that I need other people to work with, and that I hope they'll be tolerant too. I know they'll be tolerant. We are tolerant. We all need other people to work with, and and you will get the odd very loud voice that sounds extreme, but if you dig a bit deeper, you'll find enormous amounts of other people. I was on one Zoom and this young lad saying, "I'm really worried that we're all just really young." And he was from a university town. I says, "Don't worry, mate. At my end, they're all older than me." And mostly female. So yes, there is diversity within that sort of more middle class university background, which also is one of my personal bugbears, because I don't have a university background, and I really don't like the name Extinction Rebellion. I don't think they're commonly used words. I really hate the name sustenance for food. I really hate the name substance for food, because it's my thing and it shouldn't be called that. It should be called food. And I'd like more basic words. And I was talking to someone, because you get a lot of time to talk as we were travelling in the van delivering food around. And he said that those words are actually much more European, and in a wider international thing, those are words that are much more commonly known. So that was like a whole different light on it. You know, there was me going, substance. But actually, loads of languages have got substance as a familiar word. So there we go. I was forced to be more, to look wider.
Yes, it seems to be, that's one of the things about exile that I think is really exciting. It is so global, isn't it? It's really international, and it does seem to have this tremendously good community feel about it.
It's got, yes.
At the moment, anyway.
Yeah, and a lot of people have an enormous passion for the methods of doing meetings that we have. So basically there's a lot of taking an issue, going away in smaller groups, talking about it with pillars, guidelines that help every voice to be heard, not dissing anybody or putting them down. There's 4. Keeping on subject, keeping focused. And the 4th one, I can't remember. But it's something that you can really get behind, having meetings. Oh, and there's hand signals that help. So when you agree with something, you do this. And if you think someone's really going on, you sort of like round it up like that. Yeah, so that's a more kinder way of doing it. Can't hear. I've got a point that's actually really needs to be said within this little bit of the meeting, not in a while. There's a technical issue, something needs to be said right now that goes over everything. Like, yeah, dinner's ready. So they're exciting because they work and make communication, and then you can have meetings with hundreds and hundreds of people where it's fed back and forth. And sometimes it doesn't work perfectly, but it works a lot better than if you didn't have those methods. And so that ties back to the citizens' assemblies as being a possible way of doing politics that isn't too scary and could work and is worth a try, hopefully. When I first joined, I was really inspired that it was very clearly about the climate, that they didn't want us to have the answers because that was contentious. And so we had 4 very clear things. They were called 4 demands. Personally, I wouldn't like to use the word demand, but I'm joining a load of other people, so I have to be generous. So 1 was to tell the truth about what's happening. We wanted it in the mainstream media, the extent of the problem, and what, things like all scientists, all the governments, world government scientists, all totally agree that we've got a really serious problem. So 1 was to tell the truth. I can't remember. The next, I suppose, to do something about it. I imagine what the next one's. I can't remember its words. And citizens' assemblies was one of what they were calling the demands. Oh, I should be able to quote them. It's funny when something that you could quote years ago and then it's sort of just filters down into something you just accept. But it was very clear that it was just these things, and it was just climate and ecosystems, because the ecosystems have got just as much crisis is coming as the climate has. These things that if it gets bad enough, it won't be able to heal itself anymore, and it will start getting much, much, much worse, much faster. Like if the sea warms up to the point where coral reefs die, coral reefs themselves give off things that make the sea get warmer, and so the cooling mechanisms start collapsing, and it could. So there's a lot of fear of what's called runaway climate change, where we go past a certain point. So rainforests have started combusting spontaneously because they're not getting, and they make their own rain. And so if they shrink enough that they can't make their own rain, suddenly it's like woof. So it's very, very scary, and very, very likely scientists have to talk in exact terms, so they can't say on this date this will happen, which can seem like they're not sure, but it's not that they're not sure, it's just that they're not sure exactly how big and when. But they are totally sure that we are totally needing to focus on. So some people say that things start off quite slowly, build a bit of momentum, and then go quite fast. So they're also hoping that the solutions have started off very, very slowly. About 44 years ago when I was a child, they've gained a lot of momentum if you're looking for it. You know, you go to a train station and sit in it, it looks like nothing's happening at all. But if you're looking for it, they're gaining a lot of momentum, and hopefully we get the runaway greening before we get the runaway climate change.